What is up, nerds? Welcome back to episode 9 of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, with my co-host, Justin. What's going on, man? How you been?
Yeah, not much. We're almost to double digits. That's kind of crazy.
I know. This is 9. This is 8 more episodes than I thought we would do.
I think I'll just quit, actually.
If I'm being completely honest.
I'll just quit now.
Yeah.
We might as
This
well.
is the last episode. Spoiler alert. We were going to tell you at the end, but, we'll just ruin your... Well, this will probably be good news, honestly. You'll probably be jumping with joy and glee. But no, we're gonna keep doing this until y'all kick us off the internet.
I was going to say, what's the goal? Do we keep going until we get a sponsor? We just keep going until we hate each other?
The goal is that's probably the smartest one. Because, when we lose this amazing chemistry, everybody's going to just be like, see you later, guys.
Yeah, true.
Well, so we have a pretty lengthy topics today. So we will be going back to NERDTOWN. So get your tickets ready. Have your bags packed. Because when the train gets here, we're not waiting for
the
anybody.
feedback was clear
straight to it.
last week. After we didn't talk about anything nerdy, we only talked about ourselves. Everyone was like, shut up. We don't care. Get back to NERDTOWN.
We don't care about how bad y'all are at pickleball.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the nerd stuff.
Oh, some of those comments, man. How do you guys review paddles if you can't even hit a ball with them? That was my favorite.
Some guy said S tier paddle reviews, F tier pickleball. I was like, F tier is pretty kind.
Yeah.
We're off the charts. Like, we are so bad.
Based on that video.
We'll get more into that later. But have you been able to play much?
I played last night. I haven't played at all for a week. You knew this, but the viewers didn't know this, that I had COVID last week. So last week's episode was rough.
Yeah.
Barely made it through.
Yeah,
and then
so
I'm recovered now, though, so we're good.
Yeah. We didn't want to have a little pity party for Justin, but he was literally sick with fever while we were recording that. So very much appreciated. And I would try to do the same, but I can't promise that I would, if I'm going to be completely honest here.
Right after the episode, I was 101.8. So.
Oof, yeah. So feeling horrible. Yeah. Fever sucks.
So we'll blame the poor podcast performance last week on me. We'll just say that was the problem.
I mean, was it poor or was it just horrible, as usual?
Yeah. Well, anyway, all right. Last week's gone. Let's dive in.
Yeah, so we are going to real quickly run through the current paddle queue. Surprise, surprise. The J2K 14mm review was before all of those paddles. It was just something I couldn't really disclose that was coming out immediately. And so they got here pretty much the day that I recorded the podcast. I played with them for like 4 days straight, nonstop. I think I had a 2-a-day on one of those.
Makes it a little easier.
Cranked out that.
Right, when you already know like a version of a paddle, right? So you don't need to necessarily spend a full hard 2 weeks because you're like, this is a version of a paddle I already know really well.
Exactly, because that was the thing with the 14. It's just like, okay, how does this compare to the 16, which is, pound for pound, one of the best paddles on the market right now, and a lot of people are kind of agreeing with me on that respect. But definitely a different paddle, but still shockingly just stable, which is something you don't get really often with hardly any 14mm paddles. So great all-around paddle, especially for people who are just looking for a J2K 16mm with more pop. Obviously, you're always going to lose some amounts of control and stability and forgiveness that you would always have with a 16mm of the same paddle. But really awesome paddle. So J2K 14mm. If you haven't seen the review, go check it out. Dropped it last week. Next, we should have the Groovin lasers. Then we'll follow that with the Bread and Butter Fat Boy. And then we will go on to the Rhombus R2 Nova. This is the second Rhombus paddle I've ever hit. The first one was the R2 FX, which was a great paddle. This is also a really good paddle. Have enjoyed my time with it. I'm using some interesting weighting here that I'll get into a little bit later in the podcast, which is actually from Enhanced Pickleball. They have their own tungsten tape now, or tungsten weights, not really tungsten tape. But tested out the Sweet Spot Pro finally. Pretty solid paddle. I'll probably put a little bit more time of this into this and decide if I want to do a full review or just kind of give you guys the rundown here on the podcast. And I got the all three 11/6/24 Monarchs.
Oh.
So, yes,
Very nice.
the all court is the gold crown. The green crown is the Kevlar control. And then the white crown is the Jelly Bean, which is that Gen 1.5. And I feel like I heard someone say that there's a layer of fiberglass in the Jelly Bean.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, that is shocking.
And
so
smart.
should be a very interesting, very smart, very reminiscent of the Paddletech Bantam series. So those, I can assure you right now, are all going to be great paddles.
Yes, another company killing it this year.
Genuinely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 11/6/24 just continues to drop some heat. They are quickly establishing themselves as one of the premier paddle brands and paddle manufacturers. So they make really good products. Have you ever hit any of the 11/6/24 paddles?
The 16 millimeter Hirachi X, don't know the name, plus Kevlar K. Yeah, whatever that one is, the blue Kevlar one.
So the Kevlar, not the carbon fiber fiberglass.
Right.
Carbon fiber.
That's the only one I hit, which it was good. It wasn't my cup of tea, but it was a good paddle, I could tell.
Yeah, I agree. I think I made that pretty clear that elongated paddles are not really my favorite. But of the elongated paddles available on the market, I would say that is one of the best ones, if not the best, in my opinion. So, yeah, they're quickly becoming a very established brand. I think the All Court is going to be a very close competitor with the J3K Pro. We'll see how that is. I have played with it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Need to weight it up to what I have been weighting other paddles up to compare it properly. So, very promising sets of paddles. So, and then this is the one. The Beatnik had to use a different.
I was going to say, was that in a different case?
Yeah, that was
it's like a Hisk
which
case.
Is. Yeah, let me give Hisk a shout out. Hisk has like a $59 Gen 1.5 elongated shape paddle, and it is potentially the best deal on the market. I didn't put it in the top 5 under 100 review because I just liked the Kiwi Labs one a little more, and they are a slightly more reputable company, so I felt like that those two combinations made it a better choice. But yeah, that Hisk Rav Pro, I believe is what it's called, is a really solid paddle. So yeah,
I meant to say
paddles are
something.
getting cheap now, man.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I meant to say something at the top of the episode, y'all. I forgot. But
Oh, baby.
look who's official. Look what I got. You know? Last week
man.
you got to brag about
Finally.
yours. And so here I am, just dripping in it. So
You're a big dog
official, we sponsor Braden's Pickleball tape. Or his tungsten tape. So no, but to be honest,
sponsor who is actually we sponsor.
Yeah. So it's actually not a sponsor, just a friend who makes awesome stuff. But thanks, Braden. Appreciate it. And this stuff is awesome. I only had one roll before, and I was like, I use it sparingly because I tinker so much, Like when I'm messing with my paddles or prototypes or whatever, I just like, I'm going to use lead because I want to tear it off and change it. But then whenever I get a paddle that I'm going to play with, then I'm like, okay, now it's time. It's almost like it passed the test. Now it's time for the Pickleball Effect tungsten tape because it's so nice. I don't want to be like tearing it up. But anyway, now I'm stocked
Well, here's
up,
the thing about the. Here's just another glowing ad review read for the Pickleball Effect tungsten tape. As long as you don't leave it on there for like more than a few days, and it's like not in like direct sunlight and whatnot, the adhesive doesn't cure. So it's like real easy to take off, place onto other things. So I found that like after a couple of days, it starts to get kind of
Well, and where I live,
iffy.
I play outdoors. It's 100 and something degrees, so it doesn't work for me. But in general, I know that's a good strength of it.
Yeah,
it gets very
it's really
sticky
solid.
if I try to peel it back off after the heat.
Yeah. So back to the Beatnik. I sent them a novel of things that I did and did not like about this paddle. This paddle has a lot of promise. It is far and away one of the most poppy paddles on the market. It sounds similar to a gearbox when you hit it, so it's got an interesting noise to it. However, from what they've said, there is no foam in the core. They have I can't remember what the material is, but they have a different edge.
Is it like a Kevlar braid weighting or something like that?
Yeah, it's a braid, but I don't think it's Kevlar. I can't remember what it is. My mind's blanking on
me. Is it written
on
the paddle?
There is a honeycomb. It probably is. There's a million different things.
I know there's like a Kevlar heart, some kind of braid.
Yeah, there's Kevlar heart, edgeless, reinforced, carbon fiber, 12K, Pro Series, Beatnik. That's all we got.
I know Farmer Lanky said it was like crazy poppy and hard to control, but kind of fun to play with.
Yeah, so it is very similar to the gearbox in the sense that it is ultra poppy, it is hard to control, it hits hard as hell, but this has a swing weight of like 98.
That's crazy.
So you have ample room to add Pickleball Effect tungsten weight tape.
There you go.
To increase the swing weight, static weight, and twist weight to make this a much more performative paddle. However, spray on grit, I can already tell you right now, I let my friend play with this last night, and I can already feel spots where it's starting to wear down.
Yeah.
So I've probably played a total of 2.5, 3 hours with this paddle, which is 8 games of pickleball. So it is, that's the big downfall. I'm not sure if I'm going to review this, but this company is promising to me.
That's cool.
I sent them this very long email about all these things that I did and didn't like about them. I was like, hey guys, y'all need to use some form of epoxy peel ply grit texture. If that is even possible with these paddles, which I'm sure it probably is. Justin, you could probably be a better person to tell us if that is or is not possible. But if they can change those things, a couple things about the paddle, then it can be a very interesting paddle, and potentially one that is worth the price and one that I could highly recommend. So they were very responsive to that. They're like, we really appreciate your feedback. That is something that I'm going to show to the team, and we're going to, think about these things moving forward, which is, I'm never going to be like a guy who's like dogging somebody out in email. I was like, look, you have good bones. You just got to, you got to throw up the drywall. You got to, caulk the edges. You got to make it look nice, man. You got to do all the things that everybody else is doing and potentially more. So interesting paddles. Not sure if I'm going to get to a full review on those. But yeah, we got some people doing different things out there.
Yeah,
which is
their like grip thing is kind of interesting. I'm not sure it would have wide appeal, but the little shapes.
It's a little clunky. It's a little it's a vibration dampening grip. It looks like at first glance that it's a Hesicore. It is not, actually. They have like these interesting little like foam circles that kind of raise your hands away from the grip itself and dampen vibrations. So yeah, interesting paddles. That's all we got on the Beatnik. We're going to move on to the Enhance Pickleball tungsten balance pods. So these are your traditional weighted pieces of tape or pieces of weight that you traditionally see from all tons and tons of different kinds of brands. So 3 grams. These I do not like as much as the Pickleball Effect ones. However, if you are someone who likes a very specific size, like a smaller footprint, and it to be exactly 3 grams, and you just peel and place, these are by far the best option on the market. I think they are currently the only tungsten weights that you can place on your paddles right now. Everything else is pretty much lead. Yeah, so it's a solid product. I mean,
because we've seen the same size and like same shape and form factor from like you said other brands, or just like the type I've gotten off Amazon, just the plain black ones, but they're all lead. So
yeah,
it's like coated lead.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm kind of a weirdo about touching lead and playing with lead just because I have a kid, and I'm also like a borderline hypochondriac, and
I sent you that paddle.
Dumber than I am. Yeah.
That one time I sent him a couple paddles, and one of the paddles had some like raw lead on the side, by the way, not on the handle, but like way up the side. And he was like, he sent me back. He was like, "You savage! You just have this lead out in the open." And I was like, "Yeah,
just exposed lead, just right there." Lead is toxic, guys. It's in large quantities. It can affect you negatively. It can actually give you lead poisoning, and you can basically become dumber.
Yeah.
It's really like it affects your ability to cognitively perform. So very unlikely that you're going to experience lead poisoning from touching those, but I'm just a little bit of a freak when it comes to that. So
that's okay, because we got
these balance
tungsten
pods.
tape now. Product placement.
That's right. We got tungsten balance pods. We got tungsten tape, baby.
Gonna hit Braden with product placement. A lot.
Yeah.
Product placement.
Yes. Speaking of product placement, I have been desperately trying to find a overgrip that is not from a gigantic brand that feels exactly like the Yonex Super Grip. Your favorite is the Wilson Pro Comfort, right?
Yeah, but the reason, I like it, of course. I just use it forever, but I also like that I can order in like a 36 pack or a 50 pack. It makes it way cheaper.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. As far as like the ethics, I don't know. I don't know much about Wilson, but I will say that, like you say that, but Yonex is like a pretty solid brand,
Well, and I have nothing against Yonex, nothing against Wilson. I would just rather support Braden or U-Drippin or Bodie or whomever is a smaller brand that is making equivalent, performing products. So Yonex doesn't need the extra $35 from me. So they already are super established.
So who have you tried?
And make great products. So I purchased some U-Drippin. They're on the way. They should be here soon. I purchased Pickleball Effects Comfort Tack, I think is what he calls them. Those were fine. They just weren't like the Yonex. The Yonex is like a lot tackier, but also very soft. It's kind of like softer than a Wilson Pro Comfort, but similar tackiness.
Pretty close, yeah. They're pretty close.
So if you have a favorite...
Have you tried those?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about them. I was trying to think of who else it was. Bodie, Lukey, I have not tried. I haven't tried Bodie, and then I'm going to try U-Drippin. I've heard that they're very similar, so hopefully I can land on them, and they'll be the winners, and I don't have to experiment anymore. But if you guys have a favorite overgrip, drop it down in the comments below, especially if it's similar to the Yonex Super Grip.
And all you care about is white.
Looking to experiment. All I care about is white, yeah. I did buy a interesting color with the U-Drippin. It's like I think they call it like white elephant or black elephant or something like that.
Oh, it's like a pattern.
It's like black and white with like these white crazy stripes on it. So I figured most of my paddles are like black and white, so it might look kind of cool. Who knows? I'll probably.
You can try to look cool.
We'll see.
it'll work for you. But
I can, like I said, trying.
Yeah.
Not succeeding. So yeah, overgrips, that's something I'm experimenting with pretty heavily. Overgrips are like an underrated thing. Like if you don't put an overgrip on your paddle and you play competitively, I highly recommend doing that.
It's whatever you find. See, maybe you're going to convert me too, because like I said, I just get the Wilson because it's cheap and I use grips a lot. However, I'm with you. I'd rather support somebody in the space. So maybe you can convert me, and then we'll have a little bit more product placement. You know, honestly, that would be the perfect pod sponsor. Some overgrips, bro.
If you are an overgrip company,
because you would see them on the reviews.
Yeah, exactly. It's
perfect.
I will stop using white finishing tape and start using your branded finishing tape, even though I hate the way black finishing tape looks on overgrips. I'm a little particular about that.
The
man.
Wilson
That's
finishing tape is white.
Yeah, but it's got the Wilson Pro Comfort.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of
lettering on it,
you know, that's actually, I don't know if people can tell on camera, but that's not a white edge card. I love that, like baby blue that Ramos uses. It's like a
baby
sky
blue.
Yeah. Baby blue is really nice.
Yep. Yeah, this is a good looking paddle, man. Interesting shape. I do like this one a lot.
That's actually I think that might be my favorite shape on the market. So,
I like the J3K for standard, but man, this Monarch is kind of tight.
Oh, it's got a long handle too, right?
Yeah, it's not quite as long as the
Do the people a favor.
J3K.
Hold it up next to the R2 and the J3 if you have a close one.
Yeah, one sec.
Give us the comparison, bro.
All right, here we go. The J3K Pro is in, I'm sorry, this hand. I'm looking at the camera. So they are very close.
The handles are pretty
length.
close, yeah.
Yeah. However, wait, they're not even. There we go. However, the taper is significantly better on the J3K Pro.
You have more top corners on the J3.
So it's very similar. Very great handle length. The one downfall of the Fat Boy was it was a slightly shorter handle length. Plenty of room to fit a second hand, but not plenty of room to feel like you have tons of room. So yeah, J3K Pro versus the 11.624 Monarch shape.
Now give me the R2
Very
and the
similar.
J3.
R2.
I'm just making
J3K.
you do this for personal reasons.
I think these are going to be.
They should be pretty.
I think these are going to be very similar. Yeah, it looks like the J3K has a better. Oh, this is significantly different.
Yeah.
So,
I think the handle's pretty different.
J3K has way more room.
Mm-hmm.
That's shocking. Quite a significant and much more aggressive taper. So, yeah.
But that's why the J3, people always ask, or they're surprised by the kind of higher swing weight for a standard shape. Because the J3 basically cuts off the bottom cheeks and then adds to the top corners. So it's more weight higher up on the face. Makes it play more similar to a hybrid, like the way that it swings and the amount of power that it generates.
Which makes sense why I like it so much. Because I genuinely like hybrids. That's probably my favorite shape. However, this standard shape paddle gets crazy power for a standard shape paddle. And the pop is so deceiving because you get tons of pop, but it's easy to control. Like it's weird. I can't explain it. It's similar to kind of how the Kinetic was.
Yeah, I know.
Like there's just crazy pop, but it's so easy to decide where it's going to go. So
Anyway, sorry I made you go down the rabbit hole. I was just curious. And maybe doing a little bit of market research, you know what I mean, about standard shapes.
Yeah. So. I wonder what's coming next from Mark, man. Well, anything you can share?
Nope.
Damn it.
Not yet.
Guys, I tried. So, all right. I told you guys I was going to talk a little bit about our gameplay. So I played in another tournament this weekend. Played in 4-0. Knew of the 8 teams, of the 10 teams, I knew 8 of them. There was only 2 teams that I did not know. We had two pools, so 5 teams in each pool. You play the 4 teams in your pool, and then the top 2 teams from the pool advance. First game we went up 5-0.
Nice.
And lost 15-6.
Oof. That sounds like, dude, that sounds just like our tournament when we went up 5-0 and lost 11-6. But worse.
Yeah. Second game, we went up 6-0.
Okay, nice.
And lost 15-12.
Oof.
Third game, we went down 14-4. And we came back, scored like 5 points in a row. It was 9-14. And then I can't remember what I did, but I hit a really good reset. They hit another roll that was even softer than the one I reset. And I think I reset that into the net, and then they scored on the next serve. So that sucked bad. But I'm proud of how we came back because it was, 14-4 is, easy time to give up. And then the last game we won, I can't remember what the score was. It was like 15-8, 15-9. We were fairly dominant. But there's just this consistent pattern of going up and blowing the lead. And it's not, I'm not sure if it's just me, but it seems like that's the case because I did it with you and I did it with my other partner. But it's getting sad, man. And I'm not trying to have a pity party here. So don't give me any of your pity. I'm like pissed off and fired up about it. But I did some stats. I watched the games, specifically the first 3 games. I didn't watch the game we won because I don't really care about that. In the game we lost, I missed 2 serves, I missed 2 returns, and I missed 1 third. So I had 4 mistakes on the things that I'm adamantly thinking about not making mistakes
So I was
on.
going to say you broke your mantra. Every serve, every return, every third.
Now this is where shit gets wild. I missed 5 dinks. So that means we were in a dink battle, and 5 times I dinked one into the net and or out. Not and, or out. So 5 dinks missed. So that sucks. I missed 5 blocks or resets. So there were 5 blocks or resets that I dumped into the net.
Well, those are 2 very different things, though. Like a reset's difficult. True. A block shouldn't be.
True, absolutely. But I just I lumped those together because of all of those shots, it's putting a usually pacey ball back over the net. And then I made 5 errors
in one game.
And in one game. So that is a total of 15, 16. That is a total of 19 different, we'll just call them all errors. 19 errors in one game. That is an alarming number of errors. Second game was a little better. I missed 2 thirds. I missed 3 blocks or resets. I missed 3 returns, so I gave up 3 points off returns. And I missed 3 dinks. So, dinking, blocks are an issue. I didn't make any errors.
So what did you learn?
That game, which was nice.
From looking at all this stuff? Or what is your takeaway?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That was game 1, my partners. Game 2, I knew that sounded wrong. Sorry, my bad. Game 2, I missed 1 return. I missed 2 thirds. I missed 5 dinks again.
Ouch.
I had 1 missed block and then made 3 errors. So 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. Made 12 errors that game. So yeah, making lots of errors. Dinking. I vividly remember missing quite a few resets on fairly easy flicks and or speed ups. So those are things that I really need to work on. I'm coming to the conclusion that I'm just not as good as I think I am. And I don't even think I'm that good. So that's the problem. 2 tournaments in a row where I've gone 1-3 with copious amounts of mistakes. And I got some work to do, man. I got to get it together because I'll never be this young again. I'll never be this athletic again. So I'm in like pretty much like the end of my athletic prime right now. So I need to step it up. I need to start drilling more because I would like to be a better player than I am. I'm not trying to go pro or anything. I'm not even trying to necessarily make 5-0.
But then at least you could review paddles if you could hit the ball.
Exactly. According to one of our last commenters. So I got lots of work to do, man.
You just wanted to air it out.
Yeah, it was a humbling experience. Every game was competitive, which is the annoying part. I made that many errors, and we were still competing with people. So that is kind of, it's just like, man, you take half of those away, and we probably win at the very least one of those games.
Yeah.
At the very least. So I've got a lot of drilling to do. I've got to drill my resets big time. I've got to drill my dinks like crazy. And just got to get better, man. It's disappointing. I hate losing. I forgot how much I hated losing. I remember telling you on the podcast before, I was like, I'm not that competitive.
Yeah.
I'm crazy competitive. I just forgot about it.
So what'd you see on the video review, though? Like, was there anything
the video
glaring
review
where you're like, oh, this is obvious, I need to do this different?
It was just mistakes. Like, truly. A couple times I did not move my feet like I should. And a main issue I have is my ready position. And you kind of pointed it out, especially on mid-court resets. My paddle's up high when it should be down low. And I feel like I'm split stepping at the right time.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm doing a couple of things that are jacking stuff up. So
I tried something.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff to do.
Speaking of split stepping, I tried something for like a week that I heard someone say, right? Like, okay, I'm sure you've heard this. People say you should split step whenever your opponent is hitting the ball, right? Whenever they're making contact. Well, I had heard elsewhere from a different pro, you should split step when the ball is crossing the net on the way to them, which feels extremely early, by the way. But I was like, I'm just going to try it. And it totally changed the way I play. It made me play at like such a slower pace. But I'll be honest, it kind of worked. But that still felt a little too early. But after I forced myself to do it for a week, and then I ended up just like playing at a much slower pace. I was never really off balance, but I was also never really in a position to be that aggressive either. Anyway, I think what I learned from that is that I think the right time to split step is probably in between those two things. It can be a little late, especially if they're going to hit a hard ball at you. And obviously you can do it differently depending on what you hit to the opponent, what you think they're going to hit back to you. If they're about to, if you know you pop something up super high and they're going to smash it, just split early, just get ready and wait, However, if you think they're in a compromised position, you have more time to wait and split whenever they hit the ball. But yeah, I think actually just like look at Colin Johns, how he just like casually takes his time making his way up, and he's just splitting early every time, well before they're hitting the ball, and he's like, I'm here, like try me, I'll reset it,
Yeah.
And
yeah, for sure.
I started doing that a little more. It made a big difference on my like resets and defense. So now I try to, I have to pay attention in order to do this because naturally I'm like just, oh, here I go, running up to the net, But splitting before the opponent hits the ball, I think is actually the right move, especially when you're on defense. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've got a lot of things to work on, man, for sure. But that's a great, I feel like my split step's decent. I consciously think about doing it right before they as soon as I see their backswing, like when we're at the kitchen line, that's when I'm split stepping. As soon as I see it like get really close to their paddle, when I'm like on the baseline or and they're at the kitchen or vice versa, I'm usually like, a little bit later with the split step.
I would say try it for a day. Try what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know. I need to think about it.
Just for one day.
I need to put more time.
Stick to it and see how you feel.
More time into thinking it. Yeah. Because that'll help tremendously with my ready position in resets and really just any.
Yeah, it'll make you play more defensive, but honestly, if you play more defensive and don't make as many errors, you probably win a lot of those games. Anyway.
Especially at 4.
This is now 2 weeks of us diving into our poor performance.
Week 2 of realizing, we kind of suck.
Hey, maybe in I don't know, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, we can come back and say, hey, we did good at something,
Yeah.
Anyway.
We won a 3-0 tournament.
Well, you never responded, but I had the new thing I was trying to pressure you into. I was trying to get you to play PPA Dallas in November, so...
Yeah, and you just decided to say it on the podcast. Add a little more pressure.
Let's add a little pressure to this situation.
November, right?
Yeah, it's November 8th, 9th, and 10th is the full tournament, so I think that our division probably play on the 9th.
All right. How much is that? Like $1 million?
Yeah, it's actually $1.2 million to play in PPA.
Okay.
Bet. It would be an expensive weekend, of course, because it's Dallas, so that's not close to you.
Yeah.
MLP is the weekend before. So I know you're saying you maybe want to go to MLP, but anyway. I'll just put it out there.
I'm easily peer pressured into things, guys. Very easily. So yeah, if you want to see us get smashed, I guess we would have to play 3-5.
Dude,
duper, right?
We can't. I won't allow it.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll have to get better is what we'll have to do. Not play 3-5.
No. If I am not significantly better by November 9th, I want everyone to publicly shame me.
Oof. Okay.
Publicly.
You put it out there. Hey,
yeah.
By the way, I'm not me. Okay. 3.5 months. That's how long. I mean, honestly, if you put your mind to it, you would easily improve a lot. But
yeah.
Anyway,
I'm about to go crazy on drilling and trying to improve. Also, we'll be going very hard on paddle reviews and content. So don't think that that's going to fall by the wayside.
No. Hey, to be fair though, I mean, I know that drilling with a new paddle isn't the most ideal way to drill, but when you are learning a new paddle, drilling is one of the best ways to learn a new paddle. Way better than gameplay.
I think it's the best. I think drilling is significantly better in testing a paddle as well. Absolutely. Because you can just hit every single shot.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That you want to learn about the paddle. You don't have to wait. So yeah, speaking of paddles, we're going to jump a little bit into NERDTOWN and then we're going to just go deep into there. So
okay.
We're about to talk about pickleball paddles, manufacturing, dirtiest secret. So this is something we've just touched on in the past, but we're about to dive deep into just the psycho world of what manufacturers have to deal with in terms of their paddles from the the factory to approval. So
yeah, what you mean is like what the paddle brands have to deal with from the manufacturer, like the factory.
So real quick, before we go into the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because Proton has been having issues with their paddles, as in the paddles that they are giving to the customers are different than what they've sent to USAP.
And also that's exactly what
who else has done that?
Yeah.
Yola. Yeah. Just a small company. You may have heard them. They recently had a couple of paddles be delisted because they were different to what was sent to USAP. And Justin, you have a lot of insider information as to why this happens.
Yeah.
And if, in fact, it's pretty common. So go ahead and hit us with what you got, man.
So first let me say, Yola and Proton, can't speak for them. I don't know. Especially Proton, I think they have their own manufacturer. So I don't even think that would be the same situation. And I have no idea anything about either of those companies. So I'm not speaking for them. However, if you think about your kind of majority of paddle brands, they use manufacturers in China. There are 4 very large ones that service a lot of brands, and then there are a few others. Manufacturers, I mean. So there are these large manufacturers, factories, whatever you call them, that may serve 10 brands. So maybe up to 10 different brands that you know of might all get their paddles from the same place. And this isn't that much of a secret. You call it a dirty secret. I think it kind of is, but we have mentioned it before. Also, there are like receipts. People have like DM receipts of the factories outright saying this, and you can find them online. So it's not like I'm revealing anything. But the big thing is exactly what you mentioned. The factory or the manufacturer, and they know they're doing this, will manufacture paddles or a batch of paddles specifically for USAP approval, right? And then they will manufacture a production batch of that same paddle for sale to the public that is different. And when I say different, I mainly mean the obvious one is grit. So whenever they'll even ask you, and this is the receipt that you can see on DM, the manufacturer will be like, we're going to make the approval batch first. Maybe it's only 6 to 10 paddles because that's how many you're going to send to USAP. And they'll say, okay, here's your approval batch, and we'll have it essentially polished. What they do is exactly what it sounds like, to take the face of the paddle that's very rough and polish it down until it's pretty smooth. And this will be specifically for approval. And then that's what they would expect the brands to do. Then send that to USAP for testing, and then they say, here's your production batch. No polishing. They just leave it as rough as it comes off the line, which is, pretty rough and drastically different than the approval batch. Now, all brands don't do this. Most brands with a conscience or who don't want to get in trouble will outright say, no, thank you. Just send me as the production and then produce as the testing paddles or whatever, make these the same so that no one gets in trouble, so that you're not misleading your customers, etc. Right? Oh, there it is. And anyway, but yeah, we've been directly asked this before in the past by a manufacturer, and they have specifically said, do you want, I can't remember the wording, but pretty much, do you want toned down paddles to send in for approval? So yeah, there it is. There's the big dirty secret. This happens a lot. And if you're a smaller company, you might not even understand. If say you're like a brand new startup, you might not even understand what's going on. And you're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll take the approval batch, right? So clearly companies are doing this, brands are doing this if the factory knows to sell that service. They're selling it as a service. Mm-hmm. So that's crazy, but not surprising. And I think you're going to see that type of thing cracked down on from USAP, because now we have these 2 large brands like you talked about, where there have been issues with the initial tester paddle sent in being different from what's sold to the public, and they do technically have a procedure in place to check this. They're supposed to go and like surprise buy paddles from third parties later and then test them and say, is this the same as the original? Now, I don't know how often are they doing that, what type of resources do they have for that, but they're supposed to do it. So it's like continuity testing, or I can't remember the name of it. But I bet you that is going to become more of a priority for USAP now that we've seen 2 kind of larger profile cases where the original sent in is different. And you might end up seeing some other brands where they are, getting caught because the factory is producing different for the testing versus public. Anyway, so that's that.
Yeah,
Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and now that you've gotten your professional, very well said, spiel, I'll give my, Mr. Dramatic guy. So, like, this is kind of crazy. Like, companies can literally create a completely different paddle that is nothing like the paddle that's going to be in production and send it to USAP, get it approved, and change virtually everything about the paddle, and then start selling that on, online or wherever, Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's not going to be that drastic.
That's what I was going to say.
It's probably going to be very small,
mostly it's going to be the
changes.
Grit. Yeah. But they could, you're right. If someone wanted to take advantage, they could change a lot as long as it looks the same from the outside.
Exactly. And what is stopping USAP from finding out that they have made wholesale changes to their paddle to make it A, not be actually an approved paddle, or B, just be that much better of a paddle to where it's actually giving a pretty drastic gain, for the consumer or whoever's buying, or maybe even a professional. But the professionals are not a very good example because they actually have their paddles independently tested with the same testing requirements for USAP paddles. Is that correct?
No.
Or close to?
No. They have on-site testing at the pro tournaments, but it's very limited in comparison to the full test that is, the full testing suite is multiple tests, and they will do it, in a lab, and there's a lot to it. However, like spot testing that they do at pro tournaments for pros is just like the obvious stuff, a steric gauge for grit, and then they push on the paddle, and then some of them, I think it's the APP, has like a ultrasound type thing where they can check the core, see if there's any core crush.
Yeah. Well, so that proves my point even more. So it's the wild, wild west, man. Literally.
It's tightening up now,
Anybody could have any kind of paddle that they want.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't sound like a Gen 3 paddle, nobody's going to be wiser to it.
Yeah.
No one's going to be able to call it out. As long as it can pass the grit test, the deflection test, or whatever form of deflection testing they use on site. I mean, it's crazy. So that is it could potentially be a huge problem that is yet to be discovered and proven.
Yeah, I think the recent controversies are going to make all of it tighten up, of course, And there's even, new testing being developed specifically because a lot of the recent controversies. Well, we'll go into on another episode the new USAP testing once we have more information.
Yeah. And I wanted to also say that the Yola delisting, nobody still knows exactly why they were delisted. They just know that it was because the paddles were different from the versions that were sent in.
Well,
that could be something as simple as grit. It could be something as simple as there was slightly more foam.
They made the statement. They said it wasn't the
grit. Oh, they made the statement now?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. They said it's not the edge foam, right? There's normal edge foams in all paddles, and then there's like the white foam that's what is kind of making the core do this. And they came out with specific like millimeter measurements. These numbers aren't exact, don't quote me, but they basically said the one that we improved in September had 3 to 4 millimeters of that white foam, and the Gen 3 production models had 8 to 10 millimeters or whatever. So it was
so drastic.
It was, it depends what you call drastic, a few millimeters. Like I said, the numbers I'm saying aren't exact, but you can find this, that there was an X amount of millimeters larger, thicker amount of foam around, which makes a difference.
Yeah.
This is not a large item.
I heard I thought that was the rumor that it was the foam. I didn't realize that was the official statement.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Nice. Appreciate you clearing that up. Well, yeah. So.
And on that front, did you see, was it just yesterday, USAP finally put out a response statement to Yola's complaint for the lawsuit?
I did not. What did they say?
Oh, well, I can't quote it because it's very lawyer speak. But you can find it. So Yola made the long complaint. It was like all those pages, it's basically their lawsuit. And it was pretty sassy. And
it was very sassy.
Yeah, and it was, Well,
that's a great word for it.
Yeah, USAP came back and made their statement. You'll have to look it up. You guys can go find this now because it's an official statement that they made. I think it was just yesterday.
Is it juicy?
No, they pretty much just said, here's all the things you listed in the complaint that you're going to try to sue us for, A, B, C, D, E. A isn't valid because X, Y, Z. This isn't valid because this. This isn't valid because this. This isn't valid because this. So I was like thinking that this whole time they were going to try to just settle, and why would they fight this? They're probably just going to relist the Yolas, all that crap. Well, now seeing this statement come out, I'm like, man, looks like they're fighting it because they were immediately like, no, 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 no. You can't sue us for any of these.
I'm on USAP's side.
I kind of am too,
I
but
think they should fight it.
We don't have all the background.
They did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. Well, from the knowledge that we know, it seems like they've done nothing wrong other than just independently test the paddles that were in production, which is part of what they agreed upon doing, correct?
It is, but the way that they did it was just very slow and sloppy, and that's part of Yola's complaint. Is like, we produced all these paddles because you didn't tell us in time or you didn't tell us clear enough. I'm not saying that they're right, but yeah, just go check out the statement. It's not as sassy, but it's definitely very lawyer speak. You can tell like maybe a lawyer wrote it, because I was reading it and I was like, this is making me feel dumb just trying to read this and understand exactly what they're saying. So,
all right.
Okay.
All aboard.
All aboard to NERDTOWN. Finally, we're going back.
Us home.
We've been gone for a long time, honestly. And
yeah, we're 51 minutes in. We gotta.
No, I mean we were gone.
We gotta go, baby.
And we've been gone. We weren't there at all last week.
Chugga.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
So, I have been behind the scenes. I have like a large spreadsheet, right, of paddles. Of course, I do. This includes paddles from competitors, just all the different testing data pulled from other reviewers. Thank you, reviewers, by the way. I steal your stuff from your database. But, well, hey, the information's there. I really appreciate
it's public knowledge.
Yeah, let me give you guys a shout out. Chris Olson, John Q, Braden, Pickleball Effect. Thank you. And I really appreciate you doing all that, because I have been stealing and aggregating all of your info for a long time. But for great causes, okay? Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I also have a lot of, our stuff on there and prototypes and stuff. It helps actually to be able to compare. Mm-hmm. All that said is I have these there's quite a few columns, I would say, in my spreadsheet that are works in progress. And I sometimes sometimes I use them
I've seen it.
to try to figure some stuff out. One of the ones I had done for a long time was a twist weight to swing weight ratio. I was trying to figure out just min-maxing, which the industry has naturally done. That's why you've seen such a rise in wide bodies and even in standard shapes this year, is everyone's trying to min-max swing weight and twist weight. And that's become all the rage with the nerds. Like,
minimize swing weight, maximize twist weight. In case anybody was wondering.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like the new thing is, Spartus Apollo, you release a paddle, it has a 107 swing weight, very low, with like a 7.5 or whatever it is, twist weight, very high. And everyone's like, whoa, holy crap. And lo and behold, it plays great. So there have been other paddles that are very min-maxy as well, So like, these Monarchs and the Fat Boy. I would say the J3K doesn't necessarily fall into that category, but
I would agree, yeah.
But that's been kind of a trend in this space. So that's where this started, right? And then Lewis and I, we've mentioned this. We've talked about now for months. This was long before the podcast. He messaged me one day out of the blue and he goes, hey, I've been thinking about something and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Do you think a high twist weight hurts maneuverability? And, then I said, yes, I think so, especially on certain types of shots. Then people come around to this. Braden talked about it on his pod, and then Brian from Graffiti came out and basically said, you guys are dumb. Here's what you don't understand. He always is the one telling us a lot of stuff. But it's something called spin weight, your swing weight and twist weight combined. Anyway, I'm rambling, but that's why we're here, okay? That's why we're here in NERDTOWN.
No, you're doing
great. For me to ramble. So Waylead's underway. And I've now come to a formula that I think is actually pretty useful, and we've been enjoying, and Lewis and I have been talking about it, and it's pretty much a maneuverability score. And as things do in the pickleball space, John Q talked about this recently too. He's been developing probably something pretty similar. He does awesome stuff. He has all these different scores, firepower score, but I think he's working on something called a hand speed index. But I bet you it's the same concept, and he's been working on this, Brian, with Graffiti, so I'm sure his is going to be better than mine. But just wanted to share some of this stuff with you guys, and I'm going to pull it up because it's been really cool to look at, and sort of the way...
Let me interrupt you real quick.
Okay.
Real fast, because I told Justin, I was like, hey, man, we should probably make something like this. And then 2 days later, we meet up at Dallas, and Houston. He has this... Houston, he has this long formulated... formula.
Well, it was already halfway in the work. Remember, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. So. I remember that just cracked me up. I literally said it one time, and then you're like, okay, yeah, here you go. This is what I got. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was kind of already in the works, right?
Yeah.
But Lewis has helped a lot with this, at least the concept and how to make it understandable, because, of course, I can make a formula, right, that rates paddles on how fast or slow they are, but it has to be digestible in some way. And we have all these crazy numbers in pickleball. And it's like, before you understand them, you don't know what they mean. Like twist weight.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't know, how would you know that 7 is good, but 5 is bad? It's like, what? And
just arbitrary numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally arbitrary. And then swing weight's the same way, and it's totally different. It's like, oh, now we're in the hundreds, and 150 is crazy, and what's good, what's bad. So anyways, my idea was to make it a little bit more obvious. So my first idea was to do like an IQ style, like a quotient style score, where like 100 is average, and then above 100 is higher than average, and below 100 is lower than average. And that's what I was running with for a while. And since I had the large database with, that I stole all the information, I was able to figure out the average swing weight, twist weight, static weight, balance point for a ton of paddles. We're talking like over 250 different paddles. I didn't do every paddle. I just kind of kept the relevant ones that are for sale in the market right now. Anyway, so that's what this is based off of. And I was running with that for a while, and then just today, Lewis was like, hey, actually, what if you just made it to where it was almost more like a 0 to 100 thing, and then we know that 0 is very low and 100 is very high. So pretty easy to just change the target from now 50 is technically average. So that's how the score works, right? So now I figured it would be fun. I just finished this today for Lewis to see if it truly is something that's easy to understand, for Lewis to either guess some paddles to see what their score would be and see how accurate he is, or for us to add a paddle that's currently not on here, which I don't think we're going to do, right, and see what the score would be.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I got busy. I was supposed to do the Annalee Waters 14 millimeter. I don't have its static weight, and I don't have its balance point, so we can't add it. So. And
important to note that these numbers are stock, right? So this whole scale is based around stock paddles. So I say 50 is the average paddle. 50 is the average stock paddle. So as we modify our paddles and add weight, then the average is probably much higher than 50. Honestly, the average of paddles that we all play with are probably more like 65 or 60, because it's a little bit above average. And I guess I should say kind of what it takes into account, right? I didn't even say that part. The maneuverability score takes into account the static weight, the swing weight, twist weight, and the balance point. But the formula doesn't just treat all of these things as equal, because we know that swing weight and twist weight, specifically swing weight, is far more important than static weight on how a paddle feels. And we now know, and people are talking about this like crazy with the weighted butt caps, weight in the handle, that balance point is a huge factor in how maneuverable a paddle feels. So you can have a paddle that's heavier, much heavier, but most of the weight is in the handle, and it might feel only slightly slower, or maybe the same as another paddle that is lighter but has a different balance point. So this formula takes into account all those items, and it puts a high importance on swing weight and a pretty high importance on balance point. So now that being said, I'm going to ask you to guess them, okay?
Also, real quickly, it's important to note that this slightly combines real maneuverability and feel maneuverability. Yeah. So how maneuverable a paddle will feel is not always a true and accurate representation of how maneuverable it really is.
You mean, so that's like from something a physics
that's important. Yes, exactly. So I mean, we talked about it. Imagine swinging a hammer, holding the hammer end. It feels super maneuverable, but you swing it over and try to swing the regular way, holding the hammer. It feels crazy heavy. So obviously that is an extreme and not a very good example, but just thinking about those two, it's still the same weight, but the balance point is way different. So it's not a perfectly accurate and only based on numbers. It's slightly also based on how it's going to feel too, with the balance point being a little bit more heavily weighted in the formula.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's make you guess some. I'm going to start with...
Let's get it.
The Honolulu Pickleball Company J3K Pro, because I know you've been playing with that a lot. Of course, you haven't been playing with it stock, but...
Yeah, that's an issue.
Considering that 0 is incredibly crazy fast and 100 is very slow, and 50 is the average. What score do you think a stock J3K Pro gets?
So, swing weight 111 or 112.
112 on here.
8.2.
8.1 ounces on this one.
8.1. Twist weight 6.9.
7.05 on this one.
7.05. And then the that's the J3K. My bad.
J3K
I thought you said Pro.
Yeah, J3K.
Oh, so it's the Pro. Okay, all right.
Uh-huh.
And then what's the balance point on it?
235, which is pretty low, by the way.
Okay, so yeah, I would say that that's low balance point.
Yeah,
I was expecting it to be higher, just because the handle's so long. So I guess that'd be like 40, 42, 43.
That's a damn good guess. It's 44.4.
Sheesh.
Okay, all right. So that's a really good guess. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to find other stuff that you've played with.
Because it is slightly faster than average. It's not like a crazy fast paddle.
Yeah. So you played with the Shogun recently, right?
Yes.
Okay, bread and butter Shogun. You want me to tell you the stats, or you just want to guess the score?
Yeah. I'll guess the score first. It's probably more fun to just guess the score.
Okay.
Because I know it's 126.4. I would say, just based off of those, it's probably around 65.
74.
74, okay.
Let me tell you the stats that are on this sheet, though. 8.2 ounces, 122 swing weight, 6.13.
Oh, 122, okay.
Yeah. So 6.13 twist weight, 245 on the balance point. That's pretty high. So
okay, yeah.
So that's an elongated shape that's a little bit slower, 74. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you have recently been playing with a couple grooving paddles, right? Which one have you played with recently?
Yeah. 16S laser, 16X laser. I've played with the 13S.
Right. Let's do the 16S. Groovin Laser 16S. What do you think the score is?
All right. Ooh, that one is 108.7.02. I would say that one's probably 34.
28.5.
28. Dang, that's fast.
This is really fast. 8.1 ounces, 106 swing weight. Yeah, 106 swing weight, super low. 7.09.
There's a lower. Yeah. Mine was 108.
Sorry, this is just what I got here. 231 on the balance point, very low.
Okay, yeah.
So,
and that is a quick paddle. That is very fast.
Yeah. So anyway,
28 you said?
It was 28.5. So I know this is kind of boring just going to the numbers, but this is just to show that the scale so far, I think it's refined. I think it's at the point where it's at, and now you could add any paddle to this. Like we could just make up a paddle. So let's just say you don't have to name the paddle. Just tell me some stats. I'll put it in, and then we'll see if it scores what you think. So tell me like static weight, swing weight, all that. And we're just testing. We're testing the formula with you guys, and this is something that maybe if we get it perfect, you might start using in your reviews. Maybe.
Yeah, we're trying to get there. All right. Do you want to do just some random numbers?
Just tell me random. Just tell me. Just think of a random paddle, and then tell me numbers, and then what you think that would score.
All right. 116.
116 swing weight. Okay.
6.6 twist weight.
Okay.
8.1 ounces.
8.1 ounces.
And the average, what's the average balance point again?
240.
240. So I've 230, 235.
235 is pretty low. So
I'm giving you like what I would expect a traditional hybrid shape paddle would be.
Oh no, it's balance point would be higher, like 239.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. All
so
right. 239.
239 for just a hybrid shape. So this is your traditional hybrid, 8.1 ounces, 116 swing weight, 6.6 in there, 239. And what do you think that would score?
That should be from like 50 to like 56, somewhere in there.
55.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, and that may be because the twist weight at 6.6 is pretty decent, and you put an 8.1 ounce model in there, just change that to an 8 ounce model and you're at 54.
Yeah. So. I would consider the 6-0 double black diamond, that's probably almost exactly at specs. and the Mark 1 that's very close to its specs, I would say that those are averagely fast paddles in terms of hand speed. They're not slow, and they're not fast. You know, they're kind of right in the middle of the road. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yep, double black diamond on here scores 51.6.
Way to be a nerd, bro. Yep. I mean, that's just like the middle. That's just the baseline comparison right now. The double black diamond.
51.6. So kind of middle.
Probably change.
And we had talked about making a paddle like that, like a hybrid paddle with basic stats, making it like the exact 50. And then going off that. But once you really look at these spreadsheets, there are actually quite a lot of very light, very like low swing weight paddles. So the average is lower than you think. The average swing weight is 113.7.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought 115 was going to be that, but it makes sense because there are definitely some like 89 swing weight paddles out there.
Yeah, there's some crazy ones on here. So what do we do with this? Go ahead.
It is important to note that a paddle can be less than 0 and greater than 100.
Yeah, those would be like the super outliers, right?
Yeah, and I think that's fine. Like, that's not really a problem because it's still, you can use it relative to other paddles, but there are just some crazy light paddles and some crazy heavy paddles out there.
I've scored 284 paddles so far, and there are 7 that are either below 0 or over 100. So almost 300, and there's like 7 real outliers. And
so a very low number.
And 5 of them are the Electrum Stealth models, which are just insane. They weigh 7 ounces, 7.3 ounces.
That's crazy.
So that's not really fair. This one has a twist weight of 4.8. So of course that's an outlier. Anyway, so what do we do with this? True, actually.
I think. Gearbox is literally 4.7.
For the people who've hung with us this far and listen to us just say numbers.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Well, nerds, tell us. Do y'all think that this would be a important metric that you would like to hear in reviews? I think it would be, because it'd be a very easy way to just look at the stats of the paddle holistically and see how it will play in terms of maneuverability. Because maneuverability is kind of a grayer area. Everybody thinks it's only about swing weight. Some people think it's about static weight. Some people think it's about balance point. It's kind of all of these. Yeah. And obviously now we have, through the power of more heavier twist weight paddles, we've learned that twist weight can definitely impact your maneuverability as well. So I do think this is definitely something we should, at the very least, start to utilize and see if it sticks. I'm sure that John Q is going to come up with something very similar. And this is not us trying to step on his toes or make something before he does, because
this is something I've had in my sheet for months. It's just you help me kind of refine it. The reason I've never talked about it before or done anything with it besides look at it myself is because the question I just asked, what do we use it for? I mean, I'm not a reviewer, so I'm not going to use it for anything but myself whenever I'm prototyping and dreaming stuff up, pretty much. But yeah, maybe I'll hit up the nerds on the Discord and just say, what do you think?
Would this be something that would make sense to you? And I think it is. I think the scoring range is way more easy to understand than twist weight and swing weight. But
100's high,
as soon as you
0's
learn,
fast. But and then that's another question. Is that the best way, where you think about a paddle that scores 100 is very slow? And paddle score 0 is very fast, or what I said previously is like, what about if 100 is average, like an IQ? Below 100 is slow, and above 100 is fast. I don't know which way is better.
Well, I think it's very similar to kind of how swing weight and twist weight work. It's like in between the range of 40 and 55 are probably average paddles. Anything under 40 is going to be pretty fast. Anything over 55 or 60, it's going to start to slow down.
Yeah.
Anything over 65,
just for reference, by the way, the highest scoring paddle on the
sheet,
scored 106.
The AirPod died.
That's okay. I'll just talk to the people. You don't need to hear me.
I got you now.
So
yeah.
The slowest paddle on the list was 106, and it was the Diadem Warrior, which isn't even really relevant anymore. But static weight 8.6, 133 swing weight, 7.25 twist weight, 247 balance point. So you're looking at the highest of the highs on all those things for a stock paddle. I don't think I have them on here yet.
I think one of those was like 135. Yeah.
See, but that would have been a good one.
That's crazy.
If we had the stats on it. I don't have the balance point because I don't have that paddle, but we could run the stats and see.
Yeah.
And this is just the stock numbers, but also like if you were a person, if we made this available, I don't think we'll do that, but if we did, you could run your own stats and say, what is the score on the maneuverability score? Because once it's modified, it's going to be likely well over 50. I don't know, depending on who you are.
Right.
Well, anyway, went back to NERDTOWN. We'll see if anybody fell asleep in that segment.
Into NERDTOWN. Yeah.
A lot of numbers, y'all.
Great stuff. Probably our nerdiest topic yet.
Maybe.
But
we'll see if we can beat it.
The people want this until they don't. This is probably something they're like, geez, this is horrible.
Here's some more peer pressure right at the end for you.
God.
I've been thinking maybe we need to up our production value, dude. Like,
I agree. I agree.
Like specifically, like a segment like that, just spouting off a lot of numbers would be nice to be able to show some of that on the screen. However, I'm not doing any of it, so it's all on you.
Send me them screenshots, bah.
Maybe.
Yeah, send me them screenshots. Yeah, no, I agree. That's something we should probably do. It's just, it takes work.
Yep.
It takes time.
Anyway.
Which I have very limited time right now. But
product placement.
Yeah. Hey, comment down below if you want a bunch more graphics and if you want the production value to up. We gotta get you a new camera, bro.
Well, maybe. And
yeah,
I might have some lighting coming in. And also, guys, we need some Q's to A. So leave your questions in the comments because
I did
the
have
Q&A
a Q
is like
today, but we are an hour and 13 minutes in.
Oh God. Well, that's like Q&A is like one of my favorite parts. So please give us some questions.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple good ones that I have, but we will 100% get to
next
those
week. Okay.
Next time.
All right.
All right, guys. This is the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, with my co-host here, Justin. Thank you for joining us on episode 9. If you have any questions, any comments, any information you want to drop, go ahead and do so in the comment section below. Until the next one, we'll see you soon.